What is going on, guys? It is week 24 of fantasy hockey. This could be your final week in fantasy hockey this season. And today we're going to be talking about all the usual stuff, the teams with the best and worst schedules, the streamers to help you maximize your games, some new playoff updates, and some must-add players. Just before we talk about the schedule and everything, I want to give a shout out to Drafters Fantasy Sports. The $11 Drafters NHL Playoffs Best Ball Championship is live, and the top prize is $10,000 US. I'm going to be making a video detailing the contest, all the rules, and my favorite strategies, but just a quick little synopsis of how it works. You're drafting players for the NHL playoffs. There's $50,000 in prizes. You can draft up to 150 teams. It's best ball style format. But yeah, stay tuned for that video that's coming soon. And make sure you download the app and sign up using referral code FIREDUP. Use promo code FIREDUP. It gives you a 100% match deposit up to $100. So 20 gets you 40, 40 gets you 80, 100 gets you 200. It's available in all of Canada, including Ontario, most US states. There's more details in the comments below, but like I said, stay tuned for that video that will be coming out in the next couple of days. I also want to mention that I am recording this Saturday morning. There's always changes on Saturday, whether it's injuries or power play changes, and if there's any big changes, I will comment those below. With that out of the way, let's talk about the teams with the most off nights this week. The best team being the Minnesota Wild, having 4 games and 4 off nights. Unfortunately, we don't have Kaprizov or Joel Eriksson back. Don't know if that will change maybe towards the end of the week. They just started skating, so probably not. But listen, 4 games, 4 off nights is still solid. Not the easiest schedule this week in terms of opponents, though. 2.62 opponent goals against average, so it's hard to say, but I would still love having a player like Matt Boldy or Matt Zuccarello or Marco Rossi on my team in order to maximize my games. I also want to mention in terms of the schedule this week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are undoubtedly off nights. You're going to have open roster spots on these nights. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, very heavy. Thursday, maybe you might get lucky and have an open roster spot. And then Sunday, it is sort of a gray area again where there's 8 games. That means there are 16 teams that are playing. You have to make sure to check your roster spots on this day to see if you can fit some of these players on these teams. In terms of the rest of the teams here, we have the Capitals that have 4 games and 3 off nights. Very solid. A good opponent goals against average as well. We have the Blackhawks that have 3 games and 3 off nights. If you pick them up on Wednesday, get them for Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. That is very good. Decent opponent goals against average, not the best. And then in terms of the rest of the teams here, we have 4 games and 2 off nights. The Predators, the Avalanche, the Stars, and the Panthers. 4 games, 2 off nights is solid. They all have very good opponent goals against average as well. So there is a chance that the players on these teams overperform. So yeah, that's pretty good, guys. And we do have a couple of more teams here that I wanted to mention. We do have 6 teams here that have 4 games and 1 off night. Not the best for maximizing your games, but still solid, especially if you want to drop some players on teams that only have 3 games or 2 games. And these teams are the Canadiens, the Bruins, the Senators, the Flames, the Blue Jackets, and the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, moving on, the teams with the least amount of games. We do have 4 teams this week that only played twice, which is not ideal, especially if you're trying to win your playoffs here. So you might have to make some tough drops. These teams are the Flyers, the Leafs, the Devils, and the Rangers. The Rangers specifically have a very tough schedule as well, so that is going to be tough if you have a lot of players from the Rangers. But yeah, like I said, you have to make an executive decision and decide whether to drop some of the top players on these teams. All right, guys, now let's talk about the easiest and hardest schedule for skaters. Starting with the easiest, these are teams with an above 2.85 opponent goals against average. We have the Flyers, the Predators, the Ducks, the Avalanche, the Blues, the Stars, the Canadiens, the Sharks, the Kraken, the Capitals, and the Panthers. On the flip side, the hardest schedule for skaters, this might lead you to making some tough drops, guys. The Utah Hockey Club, 3 games, 0 off nights. Very tough opponent goals against average. Maybe a player like Dylan Guenther might be droppable if there's a better option on the wire with more games and more off nights, right? Like, these are the tough decisions that you have to make. The Islanders as well. 2.48 opponent goals against average, not ideal. The Rangers, the Red Wings, the Jets, the Kings, the Wild, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Blue Jackets. Some of these teams, like the Red Wings, that's going to be tough. They've had trouble scoring lately, so I don't feel too much confidence in them. But yeah, hopefully you can use this and make some good decisions when it comes to adds and drops. Now let's talk about some goalies. This is going to be important information in terms of which goalies you might want to roster this week or which goalies that you might want to drop. So let's start off with the easiest schedule. we have the Ducks, the Flyers, the Canadiens, the Stars, the Rangers, the Capitals, the Devils, and the Avalanche. Goalies like Jake Ottinger, Mackenzie Blackwood, Logan Thompson, there is a chance they have a really good week. So yeah, if you have them on your team, that is a good sign. Now, in terms of the hardest schedule for goalies, we do have teams that have pretty tough competition this week. They're playing teams that generally score a lot of goals, so there is a chance that some of these goalies struggle. We have the Blackhawks, 3.30 opponent goals per game. The Islanders as well. Sorokin, that could be tough. The Hawks, like I just mentioned, Spencer Knight, that might be tough. The Senators, Linus Ullmark, I should say. This could be a tough roster this week, even though they have 4 games. The Bruins, Swayman, that might be tough. The Leafs, the Kings, maybe Kemper doesn't have the greatest week. The Red Wings, the Predators, the Flames, Destin Wolf, Canucks, and the Blues. All right, guys, now let's talk about some streamers that you might want to add to maximize your games this week. I talked about the Wild already, and in terms of the best options, they're going to be Matt Boldy, Matt Zuccarello, or Marco Rossi. You do have some players here like Frederick Gaudreau and Marcus Johansson who have recently been bumped up to Powerplay 1. Hartman and Faber have been bumped down to Powerplay 2. I don't know if this is going to change. It probably will because teams typically don't run a 5-forward power play, but that's what the power play was on Thursday. So those guys could be viable options. Ryan Hartman is still getting decent ice time, so he could be an option. Jake Middleton puts up elite peripherals. Jared Spurgeon's solid. Faber still gets a lot of minutes. And even a player like Gustav Nyquist could be an option in a deeper league. In terms of 4 games, 3 off-night streamers, these streamers are going to come from the Capitals. Obviously, you have Ovechkin, who's not going to be available, but some other players that could be available in a more shallow league include Tom Wilson, Dylan Strome, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and John Carlson. Those guys are on power play 1 with OV. They are very good options. Alexi Protas is an option, even though he's not power play 1. He is an even strength beast. Who knows if he will slow down, but this is definitely a solid option if he is available. Connor McMichael is also a solid option still. Jacob Chikrin is. Matt Roy, if you need those peripherals. And even players like Anthony Beaulivier and Martin Fair have already put up good peripherals as well. Depending on your league settings, of course, they could be good options. Then we have some Blackhawks players, 3 games, 3 off nights. If you want to pick them up on Wednesday and get Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, maximize your games, that could be very good for you this week. And in terms of the options, you obviously have Bedard, Donato. Maybe I should have Donato over Bedard here in the rankings because Donato has more points than Bedard this year. I don't know if anyone would have predicted that, but those two are the best options. Teravainen still solid. Tyler Bertuzzi still solid. Leshinov, he is power play 1. Defenseman, Vlasic is still good. Murphy with those peripherals. Frank Nazar, Ilya Mikheyev, Nick Foligno. Some of these guys are solid options to get those off nights. Lastly, on the streamer front, 4 games, 2 off night streamers. We have the Predators, we have the Avalanche, we have the Stars, we have the Panthers. It obviously depends on your league size and your league settings. Obviously, you have those top-heavy players on each team that are probably not available. But in terms of like lower roster percentage guys, I think a player like Ryan O'Reilly could be a good option. Valery Nichushkin is still very under-rostered. Jonathan Drouin is like 30% rostered, and he's on line 1 power play 1, I believe. Not sure if he's line 1, but I know he's power play 1. Lehkonen is still solid. Nelson is solid. In terms of the Stars, they're pretty top-heavy, but still, guys like Mason Marchment, Mikael Granlund, Jamie Benn still get good ice time. Duchesne could be available maybe. And with the Panthers, you have Sam Bennett, who's pretty low rostered still. Mackie Samoskevich, who's very low rostered, still power play 1, even though Brad Marchand played in last night's game. We'll see if that changes, but Samoskevich is definitely one of my favorite streamers this week in terms of availability. But yeah, these are some streamers here. Feel free to take a look. 4 games, 2 off nights. Very good opponent goals against average for all of them. Next up, I want to talk about some streaming strategies. In terms of how I define streaming strategies, it's basically utilizing off nights throughout the week, like not picking up a player for the entire week, but instead picking up players on certain days to get the rest of their games, which are typically off nights. So here I have Pickup Wednesday. This is going to be Capitals and Blackhawks players because they play Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. You can get those 3 off nights. You don't got to waste an ad at the start of the week unless you really want, or actually it depends, right? Like Capitals and Blackhawks players, they might be a hot commodity this week, and you might want to pick them up on Monday or Sunday of this week if you have an extra ad available, just because you're going to be in competition to get some of these players. But regardless, if they're available around Wednesday, you could take a look at them to get those off nights. We also have picking up Monday and dropping Thursday. These are going to be Kraken and Avalanche players because they play Monday and Wednesday, those nights being off nights, and the rest of the nights that they play on are heavy nights that you can't fit them in. And then we also have pickup Wednesday, drop Saturday. That's going to be Hurricanes players because they're the only team that play Wednesday, Friday, and they don't play on Sunday. So that could be a strategy. And then lastly, if you want to pick up players for the weekend on Friday, get those 2 off nights, Friday and Sunday, you could pick up Wild, Capitals, Blackhawks, Red Wings, or Islanders players. All right, guys, now let's talk about some power play updates from the last week. Like I said earlier, I'm recording this Saturday morning, so there could be some minor changes. I will let you know in the comments below. But starting off, we have with the Chicago Blackhawks, Artem Leshinov. Not sure if I'm butchering that pronunciation, but he has been power play 1 the entire week, not Alex Vlasic. Maybe that will change, but he could be a good option in a deeper league. We have the Columbus Blue Jackets here. Sean Monahan is back. He's line 1, power play 1. Boone Jenner has also been elevated to power play 1, meaning Voronkov and Fantilli are power play 2. Jenner is one of my favorite ads this week. Absolute monster when it comes to the peripherals as well. I'll talk about that in a little bit. With the Florida Panthers, Mackie Samoskevich is still power play 1. Marchand was power play 2, I believe, in his first game. I'm not sure if he was actually, but I know that Samoskevich was power play 1. So we'll see if that changes. With the Minnesota Wild, Johansson and Gaudreau were power play 1, and then Faber and Hartman are power play 2. I bet this changes because teams don't typically run a 5-forward power play, but we will see what happens. With the Devils, Luke Hughes is out day to day. I don't know if he's going to play today as I'm recording this Saturday morning. He was held out on Friday night for a precautionary reason, so we'll see what happens there. But last night against the Jets, Stefan Nason replaced him on power play 1. They ran a 5-forward power play. We'll see what happens there. With the Rangers, JT Miller has been bumped down to power play 2, and that means Trocheck and Kreider are power play 1. With the Flyers, keep an eye out for their power play, guys. With a new coach, I looked at last game's power play time, and the first unit with Michkov got significant power play time compared to the second unit. So maybe this new interim head coach might want to run a dedicated first unit. Who knows? With the Pittsburgh Penguins, Evgeny Malkin is injured once again. Kevin Hayes is back on power play 1. Hayes is not really a viable option, but still, that's the update. With the Lightning, Hagel's back on power play 1. He gets bounced from power play 1 to power play 2 all the time, but this is what they're doing as of late. With the Canucks, with PDO, we have a new power play 1. Suter, who's been a godsend this last week. DeBrusk, Lekiri Mackey, Besser, and Quinn Hughes are currently on the top unit. 2 more updates here. With the Vegas Golden Knights, Shea Theodore is back. Unfortunately for him, he's not power play 1 yet. Noah Hannafin's been on power play 1. He is still power play 1. Don't know what's going to happen here, guys, because Hannafin's been good in this power play. He has 2 power play points in the last 2 games. Until his power play struggles, I don't know if they change it. I don't know. I mean, Theodore is the guy that won the spot, but like at the start of the year, but we'll just have to see what happens. One other update here with the Vegas Golden Knights, though, is that Tomas Hertl obviously went to the boards, hurt his shoulder. He was deemed out for the road trip, at least. We don't have any other update there. And that means William Karlsson is power play 1. The final update here, I mentioned this in the comments below in my last week's video. Alex Iafallo is power play 1, and I believe line 1 as well, with Gabriel Velarde out week to week. So he should be good for the rest of the regular season. Now let's talk about some new forward ads. These are just based on recent deployment changes. I'm sure there's a lot of other must-add players that could be available on your wire, but I can't cover them all, so I'm just going to cover the ones that are blatantly obvious to me. The number 1 guy here is Boone Jenner. He's in the top 6. He's power play 1. He puts up elite peripherals. It's a no-brainer. His roster percentage is super low. It's way lower than it should be. We also have Sean Monahan here, who is healthy. He's line 1, power play 1. We also have Matvei Michkov of the Flyers. He just had a 3-point night, I believe. He almost had a hat trick, but he missed a wide open empty net. And in his first game with Torts gone, he had like 20 minutes. So who knows, guys? Maybe with this new head coach, they run Michkov more minutes for the rest of the season. Maybe he has a really strong finish. We also have Suter on the Canucks. He's line 1, power play 1 with PD out, so that is very good. He has been very solid this last week. He's been more than solid. We also have William Karlsson. He is line 3, but he is power play 1 with Tomas Hertl out. We have Alex Iafallo, who's line 1 power play 1 with Gabriel Velarde out week to week. And we have Dawson Mercer, who's in the top 6 and on power play 1. We have Yuri Kulik, and this is more of a deeper league ad because he's not power play 1, but he is line 1 with Tage. And he's very good, guys. He is a young player who has potential. As long as he's line 1 with Tage, he's going to be solid. So if you're in a deeper league like 12 teams or more, he's definitely viable. And then finally, we have Tyson Forster. Forster has actually been getting really good ice time lately, and he puts up really good shots, hits, and blocks. And the Flyers could be running more of a dedicated first unit. So I like him as an ad, especially if you're in a category league or a points league that decently value shots, hits, and blocks. I also want to mention some low roster gem guys that are rostered under 50% on Yahoo. Toffoli, Rust, Donato, Drouin, Cooley, Peterka, Samoskevich, Cousins, Eklund, McTavish, Hall, Jackson Blake, etc. Some other under-rostered players, Nichushkin is obviously the number 1 option still. Line 1, power play 1, an absolute no-brainer. I bet he has a massive week this upcoming week because the Avalanche have a very good schedule. We also have Marchenko here, who's picking it up a bit. He's been dropped quite a bit. We have Celebrini, who's been playing really good. Sam Bennett, Nazem Kadri, Dylan Holloway. Great job, Oilers. Pierre-Luc Dubois and Matthew Nice. Also, one update here, Svechnikov is healthy. He scored last night, but he only played 11 minutes. Wasn't on power play 1. Hopefully that changes for this upcoming week, but if he was dropped, he could be worth a look. All right, lastly, I just want to talk about some defenseman ads. Not too many guys to talk about here in terms of deployment changes. Tony DeAngelo is power play 1, getting good ice time. The Islanders don't have the best schedule this week, but he's still solid in terms of availability. And then we also have Artem Levshinov, who was power play 1 this entire last week, I believe, and his peripherals are decent too. Pretty low roster percentage guy. And lastly here, Shea Theodore is healthy. He's not power play 1 yet though, but maybe this week, maybe they put him on power play 1. Who knows? It's hard to predict, guys. Hannafin's been good on there. And obviously some under rostered players. Thomas Harley, he still gets ads in Yahoo. He's like 93% rostered. Maybe he's more available in a shallow league. If you're in a very casual league, please take a look at him. And also Jackson Lacombe, who has been an absolute stud. Great ice time, great peripherals. He's been great. So take a look as well. All right, guys, that is the end of the video. This could be your final week in the playoffs, so I wish you so much luck. I'm in 2 leagues. I'm currently in the semifinals in both. I hope I can make it to this week. But anyways, guys, I wish you luck. Thank you for all the support. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I will catch you in the next one.